The New York Rangers are set to play the New Jersey Devils in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Going to discuss that matchup. Also, going to talk about the Rangers' regular season finale. They lose 3-2 to the Toronto Maple Leafs in somewhat controversial fashion. Plus, Mika Zibanejad falls just one goal short of the 40-goal plateau, but he does win the team MVP. Going to discuss all that and much more on today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers. Welcome back, Blueshirts fans, to episode number 806 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. And I want to kick off today's episode by talking a little bit about the regular season finale here. Of course, the Rangers losing at home to the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2, a game that certainly wasn't all that physical, wasn't all that chippy or nasty or anything, but I think by and large, we got a game that was a little bit more entertaining than I thought a lot of us were probably anticipating. Neither team, like I said, was out there laying it all on the line and blocking slap shots with their face and all that good stuff. I mean, both teams are locked into their playoff spots, so why would they? But I thought both teams skated very well, competed, and we got a very entertaining game, especially the third period when everything kind of opened up a little bit, back and forth all the way. And we also got a little bit of controversy, namely, at the end of the game, Rangers down 3-2, searching for the equalizer. They get a power play late in regulation. And so down 3-2, the Rangers pull their goalie, which, sometimes I feel like the Rangers and other teams alike, they tend to pull their goalie a little bit too early at the end of regulation when they're only down by a goal. In this case, I can at least understand it, though, because you're on the power play, so let's just go all out. Let's maximize our chances here. Let's go 6-on-4 and see if we can't get this game tied. What ends up happening, the power play expires, so now it's 6-on-5, and we're getting down to about 20 seconds to go. The Leafs get the puck out of their own zone into the neutral zone. Rangers get it back in, and we end up with a scramble in front of the net. Trocheck was involved there. He was trying to stuff the loose puck home. It comes loose to the other side of the crease, and it goes into the net. And honestly, watching it live, I didn't even see which player on the Rangers got it. Had no idea that there might have been a kicking motion. It ends up being Filip goal. He scores with less than 2 seconds remaining. But then, of course, they review it, and they overturn the call. And I can't really go crazy here. I mean, his skate was going forward. I guess you could argue that, he's just moving around there. And it wasn't like a distinct kicking motion. But, yeah, you know what? I feel like if this was the other way around and one of the Ranger opponents scored on a goal like this, we'd all be calling for it to be overturned. So I can't go crazy here. It was unfortunate that it happened. The one thing that is kind of a silver lining here, though, I mean, first of all, the obvious, the fact that the Rangers, this game didn't really matter. They couldn't go up or down in the standings regardless of what happened. They were going to be the 3 seed in the Metro either way. So there's that. There's also the fact, though, that I would much rather this happen now in what was essentially a meaningless regular season finale. Much rather have it happen now than, say, on Tuesday when the Rangers are going to be playing the Devils in Game 1 of their first-round matchup. If this would have happened on that night, say the Rangers are down by a goal against the Devils late, we think we got the equalizer, we're all fired up, we're going to overtime, we're going to take Game 1 on the road here, and then it gets overturned the way that this one did, we're all going to be absolutely sick right now, and that would not be a good feeling. So like I said, I'd much rather have something like that happen now than, in the playoffs. And this wasn't the only Ranger goal that was disallowed, although the other one certainly, they got that one right by disallowing it. Braden Schneider scored a beautiful goal. He had a situation where the Rangers got the puck into the Toronto zone, and Tarasenko from along the boards on the left side, beautiful cross-ice pass leading Braden Schneider toward the Toronto net. And Schneider with a couple of beautiful moves on the doorstep, great stick handling, and I believe he 5-holed the goalie and scored there, but that one was overturned due to Vincent Trocheck being offside. Trocheck did his best, tried to drag his skate, tried to kind of lift his skate into the air to stay onside, because now, of course, with the offside rule, you don't necessarily have to have your skate on the ice. If it's in the air and still over the blue line in any fashion, it would be onside. But that, unfortunately, was not the case here, and they got that call right, too. So, unfortunate that they got a couple of goals overturned here, but like I said, better this happens now than a couple of days from now in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I will say this, though. Between the Chytil goal being overturned in this game, and you think about some other instances as well. There was the game Henrik Lundqvist night last season where the Rangers were playing the Wild. The Rangers were down 3-2 late in that game, and you had a scramble in front of the Minnesota net in the closing seconds there, and the Rangers get the equalizer. I believe it was Strome that scored there, but they overturned that one due to goalie interference. And then, of course, last year in the playoffs, the Rangers are playing the Penguins in Game 1. It's coming down to the wire, about 3 minutes left. Game is tied, and You get Capo Caco driving to the net, gets shoved from behind by Brian Dumoulin into the goalie. Caco falls to the ice, passes from his stomach back to Filip Chytil, and Chytil scores, and they overturn that goal. The worst overturn, not just in hockey history, in professional sports history, the worst overturn of all time. Nobody will ever convince me otherwise. But, the reason I bring this up is it feels like it happens more than the Rangers' fair share, and I don't know if the hockey gods are keeping score or anything like that, but if they are, I think this might be a situation that they might want to take a look at. Maybe the Rangers can get one of these in their favor at some point in the playoffs. Maybe a Devils goal gets overturned, or maybe a Ranger goal, was initially ruled no goal, and then they look at it and they say, okay, that's a goal. Maybe something like that can happen for the New York Rangers at some point in the playoffs, because it seems like those situations tend to go against them a lot more often than they go for them. I want to keep everything rolling in just a second here. We got to get to some other fun stuff here. I want to talk about, Jaroslav Halak playing in this game. I want to talk about Mika chasing goal number 40. Didn't get it, but he does get the Ranger MVP, so we got to give Mika some props there. And we're going to do all that and a whole bunch of other stuff in just a second. But first, we got to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, we just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. And for the everydayers, on Monday's show, we're going to be taking a look at the Ranger season as a whole. I want to go over a couple of the individual awards that were given out by the team. Ryan Lindgren won another award, Filip Chytil won an award, and Mika Zibanejad won Team MVP. And we're actually going to talk about that right here, right now. So, as I mentioned, Mika Zibanejad was chasing goal number 40 coming into this game. And I had a feeling that, players on the Rangers were going to be looking to feed him pretty much the entire night. And, maybe they did to an extent, but you didn't really have that situation in this game where, Mika had the puck on his stick and you're thinking like, okay, there it is. There's goal number 40. It's coming. It's on the way. There were no real high-quality, high-danger scoring chances for Mika Zibanejad that I can recall, and that's kind of rare for him. I mean, obviously, Mika was out there on the power play. He was out there late in the game when the Rangers were trying to tie it, but I just didn't see, that instance where it's like, oh my God, there it is. Number 40 is on the way. I will say this, though. When Filip Chytil tied the game, or we thought that he tied it late in regulation, less than 2 seconds remaining, I did have that thought going in my head that, okay, we're going to overtime, and Mika Zibanejad is going to win this game in overtime for goal number 40, and what a way to ride into the playoffs that would have been. Unfortunately, Rangers never got that chance because the Chytil goal was overturned, and I would probably have to say rightfully so. I try not to get too caught up in things like, 40 goals or 45 goals or 50 goals. I mean, you have to look at it to an extent. But regardless of whether Mika ends up with 39 goals or 40 goals or 41 goals, what an unbelievable season that he's had for this team. Just an incredible player who continues to get better and better and better with every season that goes by. Literally, I honestly think if you look at Mika Zibanejad's career numbers, it basically spells that out, that he has gotten better and better every single season. But it's not just the numbers. I mean, he's rounded into, as I've mentioned on here, one of the top two-way centers in this game, just one of the absolute most elite players in this game. And I think Ranger fans are aware of it. I still think general hockey fans sleep on Mika Zibanejad a little bit. They know he's good. I mean, by now everybody's heard of Mika Zibanejad, even if you root for some other team. But I don't know that it really, if other fans really look at him like a truly elite, truly special player in this league. But us Ranger fans, we know that he is, and that absolutely is the case. As far as what he did this year, 39 goals. As we mentioned, that was the second most of his career. He did pass the 40-goal plateau 3 years ago. He had 41 goals with the Rangers. He tied his career high with 52 assists this season. He also had 52 assists last season, and a new career high with 91 points. I believe the previous career high for Mika was 81 points, so he beat that by a good margin there. He was also a plus 25. That was the second best of his career. Like I said, just an outstanding season for Mika Zibanejad, and one of the guys that's really going to determine how far the Rangers go come Stanley Cup playoff time. We talked about Mika in a recent episode and how important he's going to be to this team, not just offensively. You know, we can count on some points from Mika, but defensively, matching up against some of the Devils star players, I think he's going to, he might play a bigger role defensively than he does offensively, which is hard to believe because we know what he can do with that one-timer and just a great passer, and you put any two wingers with him and he'll find a way to make it work. Just a phenomenal player offensively, but defensively, I think he can really swing this series in the favor of the Rangers if he can, I don't want to say like completely neutralize a player like Jack Hughes, but if he can slow him down a little bit, that's obviously going to be huge for the Rangers. This is what Gerard Gallant had to say about Mika when asked about him winning the MVP. He's a hell of a two-way player, and I say it every day. That's what he brings to our group. And it's funny because Mika Zibanejad, I don't have the exact quote in front of me right now, but he was asked about winning the team MVP, and, you know, I mean, he's happy about it, I'm sure. It's voted on by the media. But he joked that, you know, hopefully I'm winning something a little better than this in a couple of weeks, and I think we can all agree with that for sure. But Mika Zibanejad, I mean, what else can you say? One of the truly elite players in this game, capping off an outstanding regular season with career highs in a lot of stats and getting close to career highs in a couple other stats, and winning the team MVP. Great stuff there for Mika Zibanejad. Can't wait to see what he does in the playoffs. I also said coming into this game that I was going to be keeping an eye on K'Andre Miller because I thought he had a rough outing against Buffalo. A lot of giveaways. He had two different giveaways that occurred right in front of the Ranger net, and the Rangers got burned on the second one of those. Buffalo scored in that situation. But Miller was really good in this game. He really stood out in a positive way early in this one. There was a situation where there was a loose puck in the Rangers zone. I think it was an errant pass by the Rangers, and it went, sliding through the neutral zone into the Rangers zone a little bit. And the Rays was on. Miller was trying to get back there in time before the Toronto forward could get there, and he did just that. He met the Toronto forward at the puck around the same time, and Mika, due to basically just busting his tail to get back there, he prevents what would have been obviously a quality scoring opportunity for Toronto there. So a nice play. He also, it's just a little thing, but Mitch Marner gained the blue line for Toronto a little bit later in the first period, and a great poke check by K'Andre Miller knocks the puck away from him, so he broke up another scoring chance there. Then the second period, he was the lone defenseman back on a 2-on-1 rush for Toronto, and goes down to his stomach and blocks the pass, and Toronto doesn't even get a shot out of this 2-on-1 opportunity. And K'Andre Miller, I always talk about how Adam Fox is elite when it comes to defending 2-on-1s. K'Andre Miller's not too far behind him. I think K'Andre Miller's done a nice job when he's been caught in that situation this season. 2-on-1s, he doesn't lose his cool, seems to always be in the right position, has his stick in the right position, and if nothing else, he will at least take away the pass and force the puck carrier to shoot, and then you're one-on-one with the goalie, and I think the goalie appreciates that. So, just one of those things where I think a couple of nights ago against Buffalo, it's a rare off night. I mean, it happens to everybody. The best players in the league, at least from time to time, going to have a night where they just don't have their A game. I think that was the case with Miller. I'm willing to write it off as just kind of a fluky situation and, a spot where Miller just wasn't at his best, and it just wasn't his night. But he played a lot better in this game, and I certainly look for that to continue in the Stanley Cup playoffs here. As I mentioned, I do want to turn our attention. We're going to take a look at the upcoming matchup against the Devils. I also want to talk about the decision to go with Jaroslav Halak over Igor Shesterkin in this game, and talk about how that kind of sets up for the playoffs. It's interesting, man, because Igor's going to be he's going to have more than a full week off between games. So we're going to talk about how that could affect him, and we will do all that good stuff in just a second. All right, so Gerard Gallant before this game was asked about, who's in his lineup and who's going to be the starting goalie and all that stuff. And it's interesting with Gallant. I feel like it just kind of depends what kind of a mood he's in that day, because he would not reveal his starting goalie to the media before this game started. And, it's interesting because sometimes coaches, they'll catch a little bit of flack for that from fans. Come on, we just want to know who the starting goalie is. And I thought about that. There's really no advantage if you're an NHL coach to revealing who your starting goalie is going to be. I mean, I don't think it really makes that much of a difference in your favor if you don't reveal who the starting goalie is going to be, because, obviously if you don't tell the media, then your opponent doesn't know who the starting goalie is going to be. And But how much of an advantage is that really? That's kind of what I'm getting at here. Does that really drastically alter the game plan and who's going to be in the lineup for the other team? I don't really think it does. But by that same token, I can understand why coaches don't reveal the goalie, because they have absolutely nothing to gain by letting us know who the starting goalie is going to be. But it's interesting with Gallant that sometimes he'll volunteer that information and other times he won't. And you would think that, like, for a game like this where there's nothing on the line, this would be the kind of game that he would volunteer that information, where he would say, yeah, we're going to go with Yarrow tonight. He didn't do that. He let us all kind of wonder a little bit. And, obviously they end up going with Halak. And I thought Halak played pretty well in this game. Blanked the Leafs for the first 40 minutes. Obviously the Leafs, struck with a couple of goals in the third period. I think the only one that he would have wanted back was the first goal that the Leafs scored. It was the result of a deflection. Shot was taken from a low danger area, kind of near the boards there. Deflected off the stick of Nico Mikkola and then went through the 5-hole of Jaroslav Halak. With deflections, they're always tough. But even with this puck being deflected, I get the feeling Halak probably would have wanted that one back. I didn't feel like the deflection really altered the path of the puck all that much. I mean, obviously it put some different spin on it and maybe slowed it down a little bit, but somehow it got through Jaroslav Halak there. And but the kind of saves that Halak was making earlier in this game, you certainly expect him to end up stopping this one. But as far as the decision, we'll get to Halak's performance in just a second, but as far as the decision going with Halak over Igor Shesterkin, when there were 3 games left, I mapped out my ideal goalie schedule that I wanted the Rangers to possibly go with. And my idea was you go Igor, then you go Halak, and then you conclude the regular season with Igor. And you do that because I felt like going from this past Monday to this upcoming Tuesday, going that much time between Igor Shesterkin starts, I thought that was a little bit too much. Now, look, Benoit Allaire, who am I to argue with the man, the myth, the legend, right? He's got his, he's got the pulse of this team and his goaltenders and does great work with every goaltender that the Rangers have ever had since he's been there. So I get the feeling Gerard Gallant probably leans on him when it comes to these decisions a little bit. Ultimately, it's Gallant's decision. But as far as the entire Ranger coaching staff coming to that conclusion, I mean, I don't have any issues with it. It's just not what I would have done. And again, they didn't consult me. It's not up to me, and they know better than I do. But I would have liked to have seen Igor play in this game. Even with this game, him playing in this game here, and not playing again until Tuesday. I mean, you're looking at no game Friday, no game Saturday, no game Sunday, no game Monday. That's 4 straight days where the Rangers don't play. Even that's kind of a long layoff for Igor Shesterkin. But it sounds like they want Igor to be physically rested, mentally rested, and ready to go for the playoffs. And if that's a conclusion that they came to, I can certainly respect that. As far as Halak in this game, I mean, he was robbing Nylander left and right early in this contest. Nylander eventually got him a little bit later. He did score a goal, but great kick save against Nylander in the early goings. Nylander kind of had Halak moving to his right a little bit. Halak kicked out his left pad, made a really nice save there. Halak also made a face mask save against Nylander while the Rangers were shorthanded. Halak made a point-blank save very early in the second period, kind of a scramble in front of the net. Halak had to kind of lean back to try to cover the puck. There was also a situation a little bit later where Halak made a sliding save, to his left against Nylander, and then Nylander went and got the puck, came around the other side of the net, tried to, score on a wraparound, and Halak stopped him there as well. So overall, a really nice night for Jaroslav Halak in this one. And part of the reason why I'm bringing this up and spending extra time on Jaroslav Halak here, it's at least possible this is his last NHL game. And he's a little bit older. He's 37 years old. Look, if he wants to keep playing next year, I have no doubt that he will get a contract with somebody. Maybe the Rangers look to bring him back. It might depend on, the salary cap situation. If Jaroslav Halak wanted to come back to the Rangers and would take the minimum or just above the minimum, I think the Rangers would jump at that in about 2 seconds because he did a really nice job for them this year, and you need a backup goalie. If he's not willing to do that, if he wants to go out and get a better contract for himself, which he has every right to do, then it might be bye-bye, to Jaroslav Halak next year, and the Rangers might go in a different direction as far as the backup goalie is concerned because they need every dollar that they can get as far as the salary cap situation. But yeah, I mean, Halak, it's up to him if he wants to keep going or not, because I think he's played well enough after a shaky start to the season where somebody will definitely bring him in as a backup. I don't think anybody's looking to make him the starter and hitch the wagon to him. With him being the age that he is, he'll be 38 at some point next season. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But I, for one, if Halak wants to come back and the price is reasonable and he'll sign a 1-year deal, And I don't think he'll get more than a 1-year deal anywhere else. I mean, when you're an aging goalie and you're getting into your late 30s, I think it's kind of a year-by-year kind of a situation where teams just aren't going to go more than 1 year. Maybe he gets a 2-year deal. I would think it would be a 1-year deal. But yeah, like I said, if the Rangers were able to bring him back and they can make it work with the salary cap, I mean, I'm all for it. But we'll see how that whole thing shakes out. And if you're Halak, I mean, it's not a bad place to be, right? Because the Rangers have a really good team. Hopefully they win the Stanley Cup this year. But whether they win it or not, he could come back and maybe get another Stanley Cup or his first Stanley Cup next season if he re-signs with this team. So we'll see how that all goes. As far as the Ranger-Devil matchup, listen, I'm going to say the same thing about Rangers-Devils as I said about Rangers-Penguins in the first round last year. If you are a casual hockey fan, maybe there's a situation where your team isn't in the playoffs, or maybe your team is in the playoffs, but you just want to, see what else is going on in the rest of the postseason bracket, and you're looking for another series to kind of keep an eye on. This is the series for you. I mean, I see no reason why hockey fans would not want to watch this series. There are superstars on both sides of the lineup. It's a great rivalry game. And, it's Rangers-Devils. The temperature tends to rise when these two teams play each other. Every game that the Rangers and Devils play against each other has a big game feel to it. Even going back 2 years or 3 years when both teams were still struggling and rebuilding and trying to put the pieces all back together, which they both now have, every game that they played, it just had that big game feel to it. There was a situation during the 2021 season, the year after the COVID playoffs, and that was, of course, the year where everybody only played teams in its own division. The Rangers and Devils played each other, 4 straight games there, and the Rangers won all 4 of them, so that was pretty awesome if you're a Ranger fan watching that. But it just feels like over these past couple of seasons here, we're getting comeback wins, we're getting overtime games, we're getting 6 or 7 round shootouts. I can remember a really long shootout that was eventually won by Chris Kreider against the Devils. We're getting last-second goals that, tie the game late in the third period. This year in particular, the first 3 times that these two teams played each other, one team or the other took a 2-0 lead, and that team lost all 3 games. So you never know what's going to happen. There can be fisticuffs when these two teams play each other. It's tended to get pretty nasty over the past couple of seasons, as you would kind of expect. But yeah, it's a kind of matchup that I think, again, if you're a casual hockey fan and you're just looking to check out random Stanley Cup playoff games, I think this could be the series for you. And for us, for Ranger fans, I mean, Twitter might not survive this. We'll see how that whole thing shakes out. But, yeah, as far as matching up against the Devils, I'm too superstitious to say I'd rather play the Canes. I'd rather play the Devils. We didn't know until last night, of course, if the Rangers would be playing the Devils or the Canes. It could have ended up being the Canes if the Devils had won and the Canes had lost. Both teams won, and that means that the Rangers now match up against the Devils. And as far as the schedule goes, Devils are going to have home ice advantage. They're the 2 seed in the Metro. Rangers are the 3 seed. The Devils will be at home for games 1 and 2. Those will happen on Tuesday and Thursday. To my knowledge, we do not yet have start times for those games, but you got to figure, I mean, there's no way that they're going to be starting any earlier than 7, and I doubt they would start any later than 8, so, plan your schedule accordingly, because we got New York Ranger hockey right around the corner here, New York Ranger playoff hockey, very much looking forward to that. I also saw something where, there's a Billy Joel concert at MSG on Saturday, and I believe that's when the Rangers would be playing at home against the Devils for Game 3. The NHL has not released the full schedule. Right now, I'm only seeing the schedule for games 1 and 2 for this series, so we'll see what ends up happening there. And also, the Knicks are going to be playing some home playoff games on Friday and Sunday, so it's going to be a busy couple of days for Madison Square Garden, that is for sure. But man, I just cannot wait for the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and I know I'm not alone there. I know that we've gone through, since the inception of Locked On New York Rangers, a lot of highs, a lot of lows, everything in between. We've watched this team kind of put the pieces back together, and they got a shot at it, man. It's not going to be easy because there's so many really good teams in the Eastern Conference, and the Devils are one of them. But I do feel like the Rangers have about as good of a chance of anybody as coming out of the Eastern Conference and representing the East in the Stanley Cup Finals. And at that point, we'll see who we're playing and see what happens there. But first things first, we got a really, really good, really up-and-coming New Jersey Devils team, really hard-working New Jersey Devils team that we got to get by. I do think the Rangers will ultimately win the series, but by no stretch of the imagination do I think that it's going to be easy. I think we're probably looking at bare minimum 6, and I think the Rangers, I think this might end up going 7 games with the Rangers, probably hanging on to like a 3-2 win in Game 7, probably like a bunch of insanity in the final couple of seconds just to, stress us all out as much as possible. We are Ranger fans after all, and they never make anything easy. Every playoff series they play in goes at least 6 or 7 games. We all know that. So, yeah, we got a lot of chaos to look forward to. Just cannot wait to get this thing going here. So as far as what's coming up in the show, we're going to take one final look on Monday's episode as far as, the Rangers regular season. Like I mentioned, I want to look at a couple of other individual awards, individual team awards that were won by players on the New York Rangers. And I'm very excited about this as well. On Tuesday, we're going to have a special crossover episode with Trey Matthews from Locked On New Jersey Devils. Locked On, what we're doing right now is for all the teams that are in the playoffs, we're doing special crossover editions. And for Monday, you're going to have the 4 crossover specials for all the series that begin on Monday. The Rangers don't begin until Tuesday, but you will have those crossover editions available for the series that start on Monday. On Monday morning, they will go live at 8 a.m. And then for Rangers versus Devils, the crossover that me and Trey are going to do, as well as every other series that begins on Tuesday, same thing. They're going to go live on Tuesday at 8 a.m., excuse me. And I'm going to be tuning into some of those other crossover specials. I want to see, what's going on and what the storylines are for all the other matchups. But, yeah, just could not be more excited to turn the page on the regular season here. The last couple of games, we just kind of had to get through them and get to the playoffs healthy, and we've done that. I just cannot wait for the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But that will do it for today, guys. Once again, if you'd like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. And definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, at @LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that is at @LO_NY_Rangers. And definitely subscribe to the Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time.